Hello and welcome to something a little bit different. Normally I've been doing analytical stuff and predicted lineups and transfer news on this channel, and I thought I'd do something that's a little bit of a throwback to the past. I look at a sort of tier list of the best strikers to do it in the Premier League. Now, this is a template, it's not mine, so you'll have players that aren't on here. Sorry about that. Keep in mind that there's some players I won't have seen much of because I spent a while out of football and I'm not old enough to have seen some of these players in their prime, so I'll just chuck them in the don't know enough category. First up, I'm going to start with the don't know enough category. Now, there's not too many players going in here. It is literally just, not Michu, sorry, Papi Cisse, because I can't lie, I didn't see him play that much, and Robbie Fowler. Again, didn't watch him that much. Not a huge Liverpool fan. Sorry about that. So to start with, we have Robin van Persie. Now, when you look at footballers from a range of eras, most players you can stick one club on. Harry Kane, for example, he's coming later. You could assume Spurs immediately. Shearer had time at Blackburn, but Newcastle's the first place that comes to mind. Aguero is Man City. Van Persie did something pretty good, and he split his time between two clubs, and he did well for both of them. His time at Manchester United was top tier, but Arsenal was even better for him. And I feel like, judging by the other players in this list, I want to chuck him in the sort of good category. Because elite, I want to save for the best of the best in the top tier. Ideally, you should only be putting one player in there. Sod it, Van Persie is good. Moving on. After Van Persie, we have Michu, who I believe is firmly overrated. From what I can tell, he had one good season at Swansea in which he scored 18 goals. For context, although that's really good, Patrick Bamford did that in his first season in the Premier League with Leeds, and I don't see him on this list. It's good to have a cult hero. It's not so good to call them one of the legends of the Premier League. Sorry about that, Swansea fans. Next up, we have Aubameyang, and I'm sure that both Arsenal and Chelsea fans will agree with me. Bang average. He's just not very good, is he? Like, he's not a striker to begin with. If anything, he's a wide forward that's been forced into that position by Arsenal's inability to buy centre forwards. He was disappointing at Barcelona. He's disappointed at Chelsea. Towards the end, he was disappointing at Arsenal. I think I've changed. I've changed my own mind. He's overrated. Sod it. Next up is Ruud van Nistelrooy. Admittedly, I don't remember that much of him playing, but I just remember him not sparkling as much as the other players in that Manchester United side. So compared to the rest of this list, I don't know where to put him. I would lean towards good. I think he's firmly in the same tier as Robin van Persie, someone that was really good for his team, but didn't hugely set the world alight in the same way that some of the players that we've got coming up have. Okay, so next up, Spurs fans, you might have a trophy to celebrate because I think I want to put Harry Kane in top tier. I'll probably work this out a little bit further towards the end because I'm going to try and get top tier down to one player, and I think there's 3 or 4 that could be in that conversation. Yeah, if he stays in England, he's going to break Shearer's goal scoring record. That's not in question, and he's single-handedly carried Spurs not to a trophy, but to looking like a fairly reasonable football team. And honestly, that's an achievement given the absolute chaos that that club has been recently. Next up, the first bit of Chelsea representation on the list is Diego Costa. And yeah, I don't think he's as good as some of the other names on this list, to be frank with you. I wouldn't call him overrated because when you look through Premier League strikers, there's very few people that say Diego Costa is one of the best to ever do it. I just think he was, amongst this list at least, fairly average. Our next candidate for the top tier player, so I'm going to chuck him in there and then make a decision later on, is Alan Shearer. Did it well at Blackburn, did it well at Newcastle, and that was with injury issues that plagued him throughout his career. I think he is firmly one of the best to do it. Admittedly, he's not quite got the international acclaim as Harry Kane, but England were fairly crap when Shearer was playing, so it's basically fine. We'll work it out between him and Kane towards the end. It especially helps that neither of them were in like a title-winning team year after year after year after year, so they've not got the whole carried by the side around them issue that we're going to have later on. Another player for Manchester United now is Eric Cantona. Now, a little bit of the Leeds fan in me wants to just pop him down here just because of the whole left Leeds and was a bit of a prick. But no, I'm not going to do that. He was incredibly good. I'd love to disagree with that fact, but he just was. I'll pop him in good. I'll lean towards elite, actually, because I think he was a level above Van Persie and Van Nistelrooy. That's a very, very Dutch good tier at the moment, but I think I'm going to break that in a moment with Didier Drogba. He spent a good portion of his career not in England, and whilst he was a fundamental part of that Chelsea side that just kept winning trophies, a lot of that side's ability came from their defending rather than their attacking prowess. He was a really good centre forward, don't get me wrong, but I think in a straight shootout between him and Cantona, Kane, Shearer, I'm probably picking those every single time, and that just puts them in the tier above him. Next up, we have Jamie Vardy, and this is where we might meet some issues because it's quite hard to decide whether I'm picking based on ability or impact. If I'm going pure ability, then I'm very sorry to say, Mr. Vardy, I'm going to go average. He was the key part of that Leicester squad that won the Premier League. There is absolutely no doubting that. And he's firmly better than the people in the tier below him, but I don't think in terms of pure ability he pushes himself into that good tier. And that might be a bit of a weird take, but when you're putting strikers in a tier list, you're judging them on their own merit rather than what they did with a side around them that was built in part for them. It was Mahrez putting chances on a play, it was Kante breaking up play that ultimately gave them that title in addition to his finishing. And I feel like if it was standing alone, your Drogba, your Van Persie, your Van Nistelrooy are also going to finish off those chances. Thierry Henry is another quite hard decision to make because he was sort of weirdly in Aubameyang's spot, not in terms of ability, don't kill me, but in terms of positioning. He was a left winger that drifted inside rather than purely being a centre forward. I still want to put him in the elite level because he was one of the best dribblers of all time. I think he's firmly clear of Van Persie, Van Nistelrooy, matches up with the likes of Cantona. That's very French as well. That was Dutch, that was French. That's English. Don't know if it will be for long. We'll find out. I think Henry is one of those players where if you get him in the right setup, he's just going to set the world on fire. No doubt about it. Elite. Aguero. Oh, sorry. Aguero is our first and only Man City striker on this list. Haaland's not been around for long enough. I'm going to lean elite for now, but sod it. Aguero, I think, fits into elite rather than top tier. And that is purely because of the side that he has around him creating more chances. He's had more opportunities to score than Kane and Shearer. And I don't think he's quite been as prolific. He scored a hell of a lot of goals, to be fair, but he was in a side that was always going to win the title, was always going to score goals, and he had the best midfield behind him possibly ever created. So, sod it, Aguero, in you go. Gianfranco Zola. I would whack him in the don't know enough category, but I feel like that's a quite mean place to put someone. And I've played with him a bit on FIFA, and he was average for me, and that's all I've got. This is the extent of the analysis that you're getting right now. I'm deeply sorry. I would put Zola in the sort of average tier. I wouldn't pick him above Drogba, Van Persie, anyone above that. So average, sorry. Wayne Rooney is a complicated one. He's an incredible striker. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And I believe he would be in these tiers, top tier, elite, if he wasn't constantly injured and if his career didn't end really early. Because he did end up going to MLS, going to Derby, managing at Derby, weirdly. It's a complicated one because in terms of pure ability, he was fantastic, but in terms of longevity, he didn't have what Shearer had, what Henry had, what Aguero had. I would like to put him in a spot between elite and good, but I think I'm going to put him at the bottom end of elite, just because I think that's where he slots in. Sorry. Another player that's quite complicated to work out is Michael Owen. Now, Michael Owen, I can't remember if he won the Ballon d'Or or nearly won the Ballon d'Or, but I don't think he was that good. He was an incredible finisher. I'm not going to doubt that, but I'm going to chuck him in the overrated segment because if you end up your career at Stoke, I don't think you deserve to be amongst the most elite of all time. In his prime, he was fantastic, but when he wasn't in his prime, Fernando Torres. I think Fernando Torres fits firmly in the same sort of category as Drogba. They were around at roughly the same time. They did roughly the same things. They were both incredibly clinical finishers in very good teams. Yeah, I think Fernando Torres is good. I'm definitely going to put Torres in good. Am I average? No, good. I don't want to have to keep persuading myself to put people in places. Finally, we come to Luis Suarez. I believe that Suarez fits into the elite category. I think he's a step above Van Persie, Van Nistelrooy, Drogba, Torres. Yeah, he's amongst Rooney's peers is where I would roughly put him. I think that's fair. In terms of the top tier, I have decided, in my non-existent wisdom, to just keep them both there. We don't know if Kane's going to break the record. Shearer having that record in the first place was an absolute miracle. Yeah, they're both top tier. So that is my tier list. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any complaints about it, spam them in the comments. If you enjoyed it, like the video, and I hope you subscribe and stick around. See you later.